and welcome to the news headlines at this hour. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Saturday accused world powers of ignoring inequality in global institutions, but said the coronavirus pandemic has created a generational opportunity to build a more equal, sustainable world. Delivering the annual lecture for the Nelson Mandela Foundation via internet, Guterres pushed for a so-called new global deal to ensure power, wealth and opportunity are shared more broadly and fairly at the international level.
After democracy, she served her country and her people with distinction as South Africa's ambassador to Denmark. We are all saddened by her passing. On the 18th of July every year, we celebrate Nelson Mandela's life.
The nations that came out on top more than 7 decades ago have refused to contemplate the reforms needed to change power relations in international institutions. Guterres said the composition and voting rights in the United Nations Security Council and the boards of the Bretton Woods system are in case in point. Inequality starts at the top in global institutions. Addressing inequality must start by reforming them, he added. The Bretton Woods system includes the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. He said the pandemic has revealed, like an X-ray, fractures in the fragile skeleton of the society we have built. It is exposing fallacies and falsehoods everywhere. The lie that free markets can deliver health care for all, the fiction that unpaid care work is not work, the delusion that we live in a post-racist world, the myth that we are all in the same boat, said Guterres during the virtual lecture. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial will resume in earnest in January. With thrice weekly evidentiary hearings set to begin then, a Jerusalem court decided on Sunday. It was not immediately clear if Netanyahu would be required to be present at each hearing, although some Israeli media reported he would. Regardless, the grueling judicial schedule will keep Netanyahu's legal woes firmly in the national consciousness and conversation, and continue to raise questions over whether he can keep serving while simultaneously standing trial. The court's decision came after the trial's second hearing, a procedural deliberation that set the pace for the remainder of the proceedings. The trial opened in May after a 2-month delay prompted by concerns over the coronavirus. Its resumption comes as Netanyahu faces mounting discontent over his handling of the health crisis and its economic fallout. Donald Trump is on the verge of accomplishing what no American president has ever achieved: a truly multiracial, multi-class, bipartisan political coalition so encompassing it could realign US politics for the years to come. Unfortunately for Trump, that coalition has come into existence to prevent him from having another term in office. Start with race rather than fuel his base. Trump's hostility towards people protesting the police killing of George Floyd and systemic racism has pulled millions of white Americans closer to black Americans. More than half of whites now say they agree with the ideas expressed by the Black Lives Matter movement, and more white people support than oppose protests against police brutality. To a remarkable degree, the protests themselves have been biracial. Countries from the US to South Africa to India were struggling to hold down rising rates of the coronavirus as global deaths from COVID-19 surged past 600,000 in a sign of how far off the world remains from a return to normalcy. While the US leads global infections, South Africa now ranks as the 5th worst hit country in the pandemic with 350,879 cases. Roughly half of all those confirmed on the African continent. Its struggles are a sign of trouble to come for nations with even fewer healthcare resources. India on Sunday reported a 24-hour record surge of 38,902 new cases, taking the country's total to 10,77,618. Elsewhere in Asia, China confirmed 30 new cases in the northwestern city of Urumqi, while South Korea reported less than 40 additional cases for a second straight day. Thousands of Israelis protested in Tel Aviv on Saturday against what they see as a bungled government response to the economic fallout from the new coronavirus. Protesters gathered at a seaside park with signs reading, "Out of touch, we are fed up." It was the second week of demonstrations against the government's response, which critics say has provided too little assistance and doesn't offer a safety net for hundreds of thousands of self-employed workers and business owners to weather the crisis. The leaders of Germany, France and Italy are calling for nations to end their increasing interference in Libya and respect a much violated arms embargo, saying Saturday that they are ready to consider sanctions if breaches of the embargo continue. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, French President Emmanuel Macron and Italian Premier Giuseppe Conte issued a joint statement after discussing Libya on the sidelines of a European Union summit in Brazil. It came after UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said this month that foreign interference in Libya's war has reached unprecedented levels. That is despite an agreement in Berlin in January by leaders of world powers and other countries with interest in Libya's war to respect the arms embargo, hold off on military support to the warring parties and push them to reach a full ceasefire. This is Jyoti reporting for Our Voice.